Happy spring break, guys. Hope you are enjoying yourself. If you're participating in the spring math challenge, that's probably what brought you here. If not, not sure why you're watching this video, but more power to you. If we read this problem, it says Mr. Kramer has $2 more than Mr. Jones. I am just going to start writing down algebraic relationships, and we're going to see what we're left with. I'm going to just say C is the amount that Kramer has. He has 2 more than Mr. Jones. Now, I know this sounds a little weird. You might think C plus 2, like you add 2 because he has 2 more, but actually this implies that whatever Mr. Jones has, you have to add 2 to it to get back to what Mr. Kramer has. Same thing here. Mr. Dotson has $3 more than Mr. Kramer, so what I could say is, I don't know, D, Mr. Dotson have is equal to, well, what Mr. Kramer has plus 3. Mr. Rich has the same amount of money as Mr. Jones and Mr. Dotson combined. Okay. So we've got 3 men so far, and now we're going to say Mr. Rich is equal to Mr. Jones and Dotson combined. So Jones would be J again, and Dotson is D. Start plugging in some things here, okay? So this is an example of a system of equations. I've got lots of equations here. I could actually think of this not as a system of equations. I could just think of this as just a single equation. You have to be a little bit clever, okay? The basic idea here is, I forgot one. Altogether, the 4 men have $37. So R plus, let's see here, J plus D plus C is equal to 37. All right, so the basic idea here, guys, is we want to get this down to one equation, one answer. So the way I'm going to do that, if you notice, all of these are kind of based off of the ones above. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to start replacing things in these equations as they appear. So, for example, I know that Mr. Kramer is the same thing as Mr. Jones plus 2. So I'm going to replace this down here. I'm going to start writing in blue now. These are kind of my derivative equations. These equations I'm getting from other equations. So I'm going to get J plus 2 plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and simplify that to J plus 5. So now I have Mr. Dotson in terms of Mr. Jones. And that might not seem super useful. But now I'm going to actually plug that in here. I'm going to get Mr. Rich is actually equal to J plus 5. Which, by the way, I could just rewrite that as 2J plus 5, right? Now, you probably guessed it. I'm now going to use this, and I'm going to plug it in down below for R. However, you'll notice something. That is not enough. I plug in 2J plus 5 for Mr. Rich. That agrees very well with this other J I have right here. But now I have this D and this C, and so I'm still unable to solve this equation. But if you look up above, D is defined in terms of J. I can actually replace this D the same way I did up here with J plus 5. This is helpful to use grouping symbols just to make it clear where we're getting each thing. So 2J plus 5, that's Mr. Rich. J is obviously Mr. Jones. J plus 5 is Mr. Dotson. And then Kramer, get from the very top line, was J plus 2. I know this seems like a lot of work. This is not the only way to do this. This is just one way. All of this gives you this big long equation with J, and now I can just combine like terms. 2J, J, and J, and J. I'm not miscounting. I think that's 5 J's. Plus, I've got 5, 5, and 2. I believe that's 12. And I've got an easy 2-step equation to solve. I think if I subtract 12 from each side, I'll end up with 5j is equal to 25. So it looks like Mr. Jones has 5. Now, I'm not done yet, because the question actually was, how much does Mr. Rich have? Well, I have to go back through and find out pretty much what everyone has to get to that point. So, starting with Jones, if Jones has 5, this is helpful to keep your information organized, maybe on the right side here. That would mean Mr. Kramer has 5 plus 3, so he has $8. And now, based on that, I can combine Jones and Dotson together, but don't have... Oh, I did that wrong. Excuse me. I was looking at the wrong equation. Kramer's up here. He's 2 more, so he's 7. And then Dotson is 3 more than that, so he's 10. And now I'm going to go down to Mr. Rich's equation. He has J plus D, so that would be Mr. Jones plus Mr. Dotson. He must have, ding, 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 $15. Tough question. This is the way I would probably attack it. This is substitution. Substitution makes a lot of sense to me. There are other ways to go about this. I won't get into that today, but perhaps if we have time after spring break, we can talk about it. Thanks for trying this, guys. Tough problem.